Welcome back to The Watch. And not long ago, we kind of did a video on an unhinged comment that was, well, not just a comment, like insane woke ideologues put out a hit, essentially, where they're saying, I would pay money to see this guy get taken out, right? And
not to dinner.
Yes, basically, make this guy disappear. I'd pay $20,000, and then another leftist streamer, extreme leftist streamer, we know not all leftists are like this, said I would up it to $30,000, right? The rhetoric on this side to encourage violence seems quite regular and consistent at this point. Like, I think I even mentioned in the previous video, was it the Jordan Peterson interview with Kathy Newman? He got vastly more comments of people saying, I want to punch this guy in the face, go die, I hope you commit suicide, all that type of stuff, right? He got heaps, orders of magnitude more comments of that tone than she did. In fact, I don't even think they produced any examples of her getting comments like that, right? The whole punch and Nazi thing. There's a tone of encouragement of violence on one side, and it continueth, Oz. It continueth. There's a new example that we want to... So, there is a tweet that a person named Paul Scott Carnarvon said, but I think it was in response to something that the horrible Elisa McCunty said.
What did Mrs. McCunty say?
Did not say. She contacted someone's wife in response to them, trying to push back and something like that, right? Like, again, this is something that, Taylor Lorenz did it, where they try and go for family members to either comment or get influence, but it's also an intimidation tactic, it feels like, right? Like, oh, guess what? I know where know where you live now. I know your significant others and things. And though we can't see the tweet, this response seems like it was in response to people complaining about that, because that already has gotten coverage that, look, this lady is deranged and unhinged. Kotaku, what the hell is she? She's a senior editor at Kotaku, right? And the fact that she says you can't be racist to white people, and she has a tattoo that says men are the enemies, the fact that that's not warning enough that this lady is completely unhinged, right? An actual violent, and when I say violent, like encouraging violence, like these comments that she's racist, she's sexist, right? In that sense, that they continue to have her working for them is insane. And then, she starts, contacting family members that have nothing to do with what other people are saying online, right? Then this person says this. This is absolutely the play. We should be doing this with all these weird creeps. Track down their significant others and mothers and string them up.
I'm not scared of these people at all. Do you know why?
Why?
Because they're eating plant-based products and soy and have low T counts.
I agree, but also we've seen many signs of them willing to be violent. And even though they're cowards, right, when they get in groups, that's where they start doing it. We've seen that's what Antifa does. Power in numbers. As soon as they don't have the numbers on their side, they're pussies.
Well, I'm willing to be violent. If they come at me with violence, I'll
well, you defend yourself, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. But one side is far more willing to resort to violence and use violent rhetoric. And this language is massively inflammatory. I don't think this guy would ever have the balls to do it himself.
Absolutely not.
But is absolutely okay with trying to encourage others with his violent rhetoric to get them to do the dirty work. Because there are unhinged people on certain sides that are that crazy. And we've seen examples of this, that they do lash out and be insanely violent. Whether it be school shooters or that might have flung the rainbow flag, let's say. It's happened. Several have even tried to, there's more than once. One was even prevented at one point and other things.
Dare I say based, Shad?
I'm pointing out that there is a unfortunate, track record of violence along one side that is motivated or inflamed by rhetoric like this.
Yeah. I just want the chickens to come home to roost already. I'm just so sick of it. And the one-sidedness of it, because you know exactly what's going to happen when things do happen, is that
The side with the guns will win.
well, yeah, sure, right, but things will start slowly first, right? And as they start slowly, it's in small, compact, certain events. Everything these people do will be forgotten, swept under the rug, and everything, not us, but the other side will do, will be the full force of the law will be thrown at them. This is called anarcho-tyranny. Have you heard of that term before?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, anarcho-tyranny, where the government leaves everyone to fend for themselves until you do something that goes against their political leaning, anything like that, then they come at you with everything they can.
We hope it would never get to that. And the point of making this video is to call out rhetoric like this and shame them. Like, this guy is an absolute scumbag. Like, the language he is using, string them up, right? That term, to string someone up, is a reference to hanging, but also like murdering someone in a violent way, in multiple ways, where you string them up onto either a crucifix or any number of violent ways where people are strung up, right? But the most classic one is actually with hanging, right?
Yeah.
String them up, right? It's a statement of, it's not just saying, I want these people dead. It's encouraging, this should be the play. You should go and murder the family members, not just the individuals, the family members of our ideological opponents.
Come on, man. Revolutionary communists would never argue for something like that.
Surely not. They never did anything like that, Oz.
They never.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure historically they did do it every single time they came into power. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Or they tortured them all to death on false charges. Yeah.
So then, right, this guy DMs Grums, right, and accuses Grums of setting his angry fans on him because he worded a tweet poorly.
He just called for the death of their significant others.
Of their family. And he tries to play that off as, I just worded it poorly. This is like, we've seen so many examples of these insane ideological nutcases never being able to take responsibility for their actions. Case in point, look at him trying to underplay the insanely violent rhetoric that he has just been spouting out. Oh, it was just a poorly worded tweet. No, it was a call to murder someone's family based on them being members related to your ideological opponents. You unbelievable scumbag. You unhinged, crazy nutcase. You are a villain. You are an evil person for saying crap like this.
And you know what's going to happen? Somewhere in the future, and it probably already has happened, especially in the last couple of years, they're gonna get together a mob of a couple hundred lefties. They're gonna erect some gallows if they can actually put hammer to nail and do it outside someone's house.
Unfortunately, they're not that incompetent. They can set up a gallows, yes.
And when they do that, and the person defends their castle and starts shooting at people trying to break through their door, then they're going to scream, "We were just doing a demonstration! Why
are you attacking us?
Exactly.
While we actively try and murder you."
Exactly. And you know what good old Uncle Sam will do now that it's been owned by the commies and the Chinese? Oh, look at this horrible case of a person shooting at unarmed protesters.
Though there is an interesting win that's happened recently in Australia to a group of guys that resisted the police trying to arrest them unlawfully. They fought back. They punched the police and everything like that. And those guys, everyone was saying, you guys are done. We might need to do a video on this, by the way.
Awesome.
You guys are done, right? They're winning in court. They're winning in court because they were legally allowed to defend themselves against police overreach and oppression. And there are some white pills, and let's do a video on that because that is worth discussing. But when tyranny is in place, no, you're not allowed to defend yourself against unjust authority imposed on you by, the state or whatever. This is why people like this, they dive to, trying to get state authority behind them. It shows where their minds are at, what they actually want to do. And I find it just so disgusting that he would try and underplay it, right? It's like, no, this is your mask off moment. This reveals what you actually are pushing for, what you want. And so you just saying, oh, it's just a poorly worded tweet. I'm not really... No. You have shown that you are someone who, I consider this person a murderous psychopath. He might not have committed murder. He's encouraging it. Okay? absolutely unhinged, psychopathic, evil behavior. And it is amazing to me that people like this do not realize they're the bad guys. He does not think he has done anything wrong. It was just a poorly worded tweet, bro. But no, what it is, he's trying to underplay it because, shock horror, it looks bad. But if it didn't look bad, if he got praise for it, he would be all on board, right? And because this is the thing, people like this believe this level of violence, stringing up their significant others, that's the play, remember he's saying, right?
Yep.
They think it is perfectly justified because it's serving the goal.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
their chant is by any means necessary.
That's it. That's it right there. Therefore, if murdering people, the family members of your ideological opponents, help bring forth the true utopia where everyone will be free and fair and equal, right, Oz?
Yeah.
It's a just thing. In fact, it was justice to punish your family members because you opposed the utopia, comrade.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, the stories.
Gosh.
The Gulag. Have you ever heard anything from the Gulag Archipelago?
Yeah.
The things that they do to people. Yeah. They know that they're innocent of these crimes, and they're just like, oh, all right, we have a really big set of stairs. Okay, bind their arms and legs, put a big log between them, roll them down the stairs. That was one prison. The things that they did to people for no reason.
Well, no, they had a reason, Oz. It was to achieve the utopia.
Oh, actually, in this case, this is when the revolution happened.
Okay.
And Stalin's just like...
just murder people for the fun of it.
Yes.
Once they get in power, they're just evil.
The police had no reason to do this. They just said, oh, quota, okay, torture and kill this many people.
And I find it amazing that this guy, Paul Scott Carnarvon, doesn't realise he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay? But it's because it's serving that greater goal. Right? By any means necessary, and they need to win to instill that.
Also, they've got a cognitive dissonance when encountering basically everything in reality. Like, they've been taught they filter everything through a system that makes no sense.
Yeah.
It is nonsense.
This reveals an important reason why the collectivist mentality is wrong and evil. This is why the sovereignty of the individual is the higher moral standard versus over the welfare of the group. Okay? Because as soon as you prioritize the welfare of the group, that logically justifies the oppression and tyrannization of individuals if it benefits the group.
But also, it's also a complete cowardice and a reliance on the group as a shield for themselves. So, see, when you idealize the individual of, like personal responsibility, not being swept away in the tide of the mob, you're taking responsibility for yourself and your own actions. But these people, they're like, oh no, I can do this horrible thing because everyone's doing it alongside me, and the odds of me being punished alone for this, very low. It's a shield. It's a selfish cowardice. I can't stand these people. Yeah.
And so this is why it's so important to have that higher moral standard, that the individual is sovereign. The value of an individual is priceless. You can't put a value on it. Now, I'm not saying there will never be circumstances where, tough choices have to be made, right? Where you're on a sinking boat and you only have so many lifeboats available. Who do you give those lifeboats to? And it was the noble sacrifice on the Titanic that the men chose to stay behind, and they saved women and children first. Not enough people give credit to what the men chose to do on the Titanic in that moment. That is, I cannot comprehend the bravery and nobility of that choice of those men, right? And guess what? That arises out of the nobility of traditional gender roles.
Yeah.
That it's men's duty and role to provide and protect for those weaker than them.
Yeah.
And when the sacrifice needs to happen, whether it's on the Titanic or on the battlefield, men will step up if they are taught the right path.
Is it about to explode?
Yeah, my computer's going crazy, right?
It's like they can't have this.
Yeah, but look, I get there are tough choices, right? Where the benefit of certain people need to be put above others.
Yeah, but that's the men doing it of their own accord.
Exactly. One, giving people the choice to do that, right? And in so many cases where you actually start to prioritize the welfare of the group, there are so many situations when it's not just a cut and dry one or the other, where you don't need to sacrifice the lives of so many innocent people to benefit the group. Take the resources away from all the farmers that are producing all the resources to benefit the state, because how dare they have more land and all that stuff.
But that's the thing. It's not even for the benefit of the group or with the goal of the group benefiting in mind. It's always with the goal is always, no, everyone else will do the work for me, right? That's what their whole thing is, right? Like we got to take the food away from all the farmers so we have all the food, right? They're not thinking I have to give up my food so the group has more food.
That's the smoke screen. It's the lie that the people in power use to get everything.
Yeah.
And then oppress everyone else.
Yeah.
That's why it's ultimately about power. But the lie, and people get sucked into it though. They start thinking about, well, it's for the greater good. You ought to benefit, the greater good. That's why the line of, people miss it though. There's the line in Star Trek where Spock says, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That's actually an evil sentiment, if applied universally and broadly. Star Trek contradicts it. When Kirk saves Spock's life, and he said why, and he said the need of the one was more, I'm a paraphrase, was more important than the needs of the many, where multiple people sacrifice their lives to save one life, right? And that shows that the nobility behind the truth, where the sovereignty of the individual is paramount. And so people shouldn't latch onto Spock's line as the moral that Star Trek is saying there, but some people have, honestly. They miss the message behind it, because the needs of the many do not outweigh the needs of the few. You need to keep the sovereignty of the individual sacred, and it avoids evil like this. Because as soon as you're trying to serve the greater good, equality for all, right? Well, I mean, anyone who opposes that is the enemy. In fact, not just those who oppose it, Oz, the family members of those that oppose it. In fact, that should be the play. String them up. They're specifically the significant others and mothers. Like the unhinged, insane evil of people like this. And that's the ideological kind of framework that it's built on.
Well, this is the difference between communism and capitalism, and I'm just using those two political words because they're the words, right? Capitalism or communism relies on the collective group deciding we're going to tyrannize everyone in the group that isn't me individually. And that obviously results in poverty for everyone and mass horror. Whereas capitalism is, I will do everything I can to benefit myself and people I care about. And what's the result of that? Everyone's own mutual self-interest, a thriving, functioning society for as many people as can be allowed,
Most effective system we've figured out yet. I'm not saying it's perfect,
It accounts for the most peace, the most prosperity.
It's brought more people out of poverty than any other system ever instituted.
So good. It's such a good system. We have to...
obesity is a problem.
Obesity is a problem, and we have to kind of nerf ourselves by letting these people do stuff.
Right? And so, he protected his tweets. Again, a coward.
Who is he? What is...
Creative director at Grimoire, making Pale Tides, the Witch RPG. Art for Wizards of the Coast, Valve, Inkle, No Code, Axis, Bungie, Blizz. So it is, working for many a company.
These are the people making our video games.
These are the types of people making our video games. And Hills vs. Babyface, as calls it out, game dev goes protected after saying that people should hunt down family members of people that speak out and delete them, meaning trying to murder them. These freaks are evil, mentally ill, and they are all over the gaming industry. And you effing wonder why people speak out against these filth.
We knew they were mentally ill, but now we know they're really evil.
Look how unhinged they are, right? So why would you be surprised that gamers having an issue with many a developer and games journalists and stuff like that? That's what they really think about gamers and people who oppose them, right? They are unhinged, psychopathic villains.
You know how they attribute Gamergate 1 to Trump's election? I'm starting to think, is Gamergate 2, which is still part of Gamergate 1, is that going to lead to the next civil, is that the Boogaloo?
Who knows, man? It could. I don't know. All I know is that it's an important moment in the culture war because there is such strong pushback and opposition to it. I've yet to see such unified opposition to the woke tide in any other part of society.
What's going to happen? One day, my grandkids are going to come up to me Grandfather, we found your memes folder.
Let me tell you about the culture wars. I was there.
Who's
on
the green
front-
frog?
Yes,
That's Pepe.
Pepe. You need to learn about Pepe.
You are named after him, my grandchild. And that is Emperor Donaldus Trumpus, who crossed the legal Rubicon and declared the Boogaloo. I don't know. Man can dream.
Look. I do find that important stuff is happening, stuff that is going under the radar of many people. But we're keeping an eye on it, because that's what we do. Stay on watch.